Welcome to the Put It To You podcast presented by the Beer Claassen attorneys, where we put the questions on the table that you want to know. Today I'm joined by a specialist panel assisting me in answering the question. Hi Schlak, hi Cecilia.
Hi Raymond.
Please tell us a bit more about yourself, Schlak, and also your business, Schlak Properties.
Raymond, firstly, thank you for the opportunity with the Beer Claassen. My name is Schlak from Merwe. I own a estate agent in Annandale Park. We're proud to say that we're in our 5th year, not competing with your 75 years. And we started 5 years ago with the main aim to service the Vaal Triangle. Currently we have 15 agents that service Annandale, Sasolburg, Vereniging. And then we also have a very strong team in the Koppies, Parijs, Vredefort area looking after farms. Our main thing is residential sales and it's going extremely well. And the property market is fluid at the moment and we enjoy what we're doing.
No, I can see that. We get a lot of work from Schlak Properties and you guys are going from strength to strength. So welcome to today. And Cecilia?
Thank you, Raymond. My name is Cecilia Annandale. I'm an admitted attorney of the High Court of South Africa. I work at the Beer Claassen attorneys. I'm currently in the conveyancing department where we service estate agents, the banks and so forth with our instructions. So that's mainly what I do, is I do transfer of property together with my senior conveyancer, Alta Botha.
Today we will put the following question on the table. What should you consider when selling your property? So for people considering to sell their property, we will be discussing this question, the what to do, what not to do, and all the information surrounding it. In our previous podcast, we noticed there's a positive trend and growth that they expect in 2026 in the property industry. Schlak, would you agree with that statement?
It's positive. Interest rates are going down, although it's in small increments for the average buyer salary earner. Those 0.25s we get is definitely flowing into the market, making it easier to pay, making affordability better. That's from the buyer side, and then from the seller side, it also puts them in the position where they can charge a little bit higher for their houses. Yeah.
The more bonds are being approved and the more guys want property, the demand for the property increases and prices increase. So that makes sense. I did a bit of research before the podcast, and just to give you a few interesting facts, in Annandale Park, where your estate agency is, there were about 1,650 properties sold in 2025. And as I've now spoken to Schlak and Cecilia, they anticipate this year even being bigger and better than last year. Just in February, 700 new properties came into the market and were listed on Property 24 during that month. So 700 new properties, and there's a total of 7,000 properties listed. So if we just do the math, 1,600 properties sold, but there's 7,000 listed. How do you as seller let your property stand out above the other properties? How do you let your property stand out and ensure your property gets sold? So the first question I want to ask Schlak is, how do you go about choosing the right estate agent, and what should you consider when choosing the estate agency you work with when selling your property?
It's a very good question, and experience comes to mind. I think if people ask around, they'll get good referrals. So there I'm speaking to myself and to the other agencies. We don't always just work by ourselves. We're in partnership with agencies and we sell properties together. For a property to stand out, there's two things that's very important. It must be presentable and it must be priced right. And a correct agent and agency will have the tools, making use of deed office software, to tell a client wanting to sell, to tell a seller in an area property sell for X amount. In Annandale Park, everybody wants to move to Cape Town. You can't sell a high-end Annandale Park property and expect to move to Cape Town for the same money.
You're going to move into a one-bedroom apartment.
Yes, managing expectations.
Yes.
And you need an honest agent to tell you that. Otherwise, your property is going to stay in the market. And property should stay in the market 2 to 3 months. If it's priced right, it will go sooner. And on the presentable side is, once you start engaging agents, make sure your property is in a position to be sold. If you look where property is sold, it's sold on social media, on the websites, the Property 24's, private properties, and that's all by photos. So it must be welcoming, it must be clean, it must be neat. I don't say spend hundreds of thousands of rands fixing up the property. but at least make it presentable. If you decide to fix something beforehand, don't make it a patch-up job. Fix it properly for the next guy to continue on it.
Tying into what you said, Schalk, is partnering with the correct estate agent. Social media allows us to have a look at if this estate agent is taking me to the property, we can see how many properties has been sold. Like the average Joe goes on Facebook and sees Schalk has sold 20 properties in Walbach. He knows what he's talking about. You need to partner with the correct person. And also, it's the same for, like you said, the showing your property. It needs to be neat and presentable. It's like when you meet somebody, you make that impression within the first 3 seconds. It's the same for me when I open Property 24, and it's a guilty pleasure of me to go and look at properties. I love it. But if I see a house the garden isn't neat, I'm like, no, not interested. So yeah, very important.
It's very important, and a client can do his homework beforehand. But let's just use Property 24. It's the biggest portal in South Africa. Is select the area you stay in. Go Annandale Park, go SE3. Select and see which agencies are active in this area. Because they've got clients attracted to that, and they can show various clients different houses in that area. And that would obviously, if you've got 5 houses in the area, there's 5 opportunities. That would help your agent then not to have too many and focus in the area. You get it a lot where clients or agents, say they're area specialists. But if you look where they specialize in Annandale Park, Annandale Park's too big. You need to specialize in an S area, the C area, in townhouses, in smaller flats. So it's important. You're very right. You can do your homework beforehand. And then obviously when we say that on the presentability of the house, ourselves as an agency, we've got in-out graphic designers, look at the quality of the listing. If you open it up and there's listings that are really, really poor, we specialists in our field, so there's different things we look at. But if you see an agent listing blurred photos or dark photos, do you think how your house is going to look like that? That's a quality that he's presenting. There's a quality you expect from him. Look for the ones with the good photos.
Yeah, that's very
Photos, big thing in our world.
Someone with local knowledge, like Schalk said, a town might be too big specialist area, even if they specialize in a smaller sub area of a specific town, because remember, if they've been in the market for 10 years or 5 years and have worked with clients in that market that have bought and sold in that specific area, they will possibly have a buyer for your property already lined up. So your chance to sell the property is just so much better. And they also well in tune with what going prices are in that area, so that you don't undervalue or overvalue your property, that it sits on the market too long, or that it is actually too affordable that it could have been more profit for you in your pocket. So remember that. And then the quality of the listing is something that's important. A reputable estate agency will have access to all the platforms, graphic designers, the things that you need to let your property stand out. Videos and photos sell properties today, so get the right team behind you that have partnered with the right attorneys, the right graphic designer, the right bond attorney, bond originators to be able to give you a package to sell your property.
The days where you page through the newspaper or outside of the Checkers or the Spa, there was a little booklet with properties in are gone. It happens online. Generally, Talk Properties, we advertise our brand on the Facebook portals and a little bit of properties, but we want the people to come to us and then we can offer our full service. You also mentioned young agents. We have to give the youngsters an opportunity as well. So at Talk Properties, we train people, we give them opportunities, and then we pair them up with experienced estate agents. And that's how we then grow the industry as well.
It's exactly the same way of working as us in the Beer Claassen. I mean, we get clerks in, they're still new, we don't know what we are doing, but we've been around for 70 years, so we have that experience where we can go to, and that's the important thing. If there's a young estate agent, you know that there's a senior that's guiding them in the right direction.
Book knowledge is one thing, support and relationships.
Relationships
is the big thing.
And old school, new school of thought. You know, lots of the youngsters bring in social media, things like that actually, and our buyers also Generation X, let's start baby boomers, Generation X, Y, the millennials. I mean, there's such a big difference in the buying culture of all these people. and where they see the information. There's touch points on each of these platforms to get the right buyer in the door. If I pose the following question, Schalk, your typical buyer in Annandale Park now, is it a younger group of people or a more established group of people? And what type of properties would each group look for?
That market doesn't change much. We always got first-time home buyers. You always got people that upgrading. You've also always got people that's downgrading, and you've got people that's immigrating or immigrating to the heavens with estates. Things have changed with property. So you always got the buyers, the standard sets. But what they look at has definitely changed. I think with COVID, work from home, there's a lot of homes where the third bedroom has been converted to the home office. And so it's a young couple moving in. A home office is important to them. They worry about the babies in the baby rooms later on. So people look different at homes because they apply homes differently. Even if I've moved back to work, most of us, the home office has become a popular trendy thing, especially in the higher end market as well. And then in Annandale Park, we've got a community that's retiring, getting packages from the factories. So downscaling is big, which offers great opportunities for the youngsters wanting to upgrade. Yeah.
And when they downscale, would they look at more sectional title type?
Yes, then you see the sectional titles coming in. Your townhouses and estates also very popular, where security and that becomes important to them. Yeah.
So those are a few tips also. If you're a home owner and you're looking to invest in your house, a home office would be a good space to spend a bit of money, because that's something one day when you sell that people would be looking at. And then also investing, if you're looking at a growth market, people downgrading, or smaller spaces is something that you could invest in, like more in your sectional title units or estates, and rather have a income from that. So those are the two markets that I think
we find that our investors love the sectional titles, moving a bit away from the typical flats to townhouses, because they can rent that out to somebody downscaling for themselves later, planning. It's more into probably lifestyle planning and financial planning, but the investors are looking a lot at.
What else would you say on your listing for someone selling their property? What other key benefits would you normally list under there, like close to schools, close to
close to shopping centres, Annandale Park, other areas, transport's a thing, not in Annandale Park. I mean, we don't have public transport. Something that's becoming very popular is, and a good investment for a homeowner, not necessarily to invest now when he wants to sell, but looking forward, is water, is to have tanks and pressure pumps. And then obviously very popular is solar.
Yes.
At this stage, those investments pay off over a longer term and doesn't necessarily add value now, but we do have the people that if there's no solar or nothing, they know that's additional 80, 100, 150, depending on the size and the dependency they want of it, to spend. So if it's already there, that will definitely attract a lot of people.
So the question we asked was, how can you let your property stand out above the rest? Like Schalk said, those are key things that you can mention, especially when you see your estate agent. If you're in an older group of people planning to retire, possibly, estate agent like Chalk Properties can also help you to get into an assisted living type space or sectional title space, dependent on your need, because lots of people, especially if we look at the age groups, the biggest group are the guys retiring at the moment, and downscaling makes sense. If you're at a certain age, you don't want a big yard, you don't want all the extra
overhead monthly. And Annandale Park, just by default of the industry, especially Mittal and the surroundings, there's a lot of people staying there that are moving into retirement. So your sectional titles, townhouses, those type of things, that keeps the prices kicking because there's a big demand on that.
So a estate agent can definitely help you move downscale or upscale if you're a young couple, first time buyer. So those are important things to remember when we're looking at that. As a seller, something that I want to ask Cecilia, in South Africa, who has the right, because we said choosing the right estate agent is an important decision, but choosing the right transfer attorney is just as important. In South Africa, who can choose the transfer attorney?
It's so important, and it's one thing I really want for the sellers to be equipped with this knowledge is, as the seller, you can tell the estate agent, listen, I already have my attorney, I'm going to use them, so you have the choice of choosing your transfer attorney. The estate agents also work with attorneys they have a good relationship with, but yeah, you need to know that it's up to you. Remember, you are the owner, you are selling your property, and the estate agent is assisting you in doing that. But if you have a relationship with an attorney, you choose them. You say, I want to use Cecilia, and you phone me.
From our side, that thing is, I'll speak to my attorney. That's a rumor. Not everybody's got an attorney.
No, not everybody's got an attorney.
And probably more than 50-60% of the property transactions we enter, the seller would ask us, who would you choose?
Who would you recommend?
Who would you recommend?
Ask a lot, yeah.
And that's why I say, when we started off, relationships are important.
Yes, 100%. 100%. Relationships is very key in that.
For me as an estate agent, to say with comfort, I can use the Beer Claassen.
I think definitely the relationships, if you're using a trusted estate agency, they would have built up the reputation and also the partnerships with the correct
Legal people.
legal people, bond originators. The whole team would be the best team you could get, but it all starts with the estate agent. Getting the right estate agent and estate agency will guide you through the process. Also, do your research on the attorney firm you're using. Like we said, experience, trust, all the same principles that choosing your estate agent count towards the transfer attorney as well. So when making your decision, that's very important. Cecilia, what is the role of a transfer attorney in this whole process when selling your property? Because remember, this is the biggest asset you'll ever buy. What would you say is the role of a transfer attorney in the whole sales process?
I think I want to just say, like, the role of the transferring attorney is in essence, if it's your first property, especially if you haven't dealt with a transfer attorney, is to figuratively, like, hold your hand and phone you. So say, I'm transferring a property, this is how it's going to work. I'm going to contact you, I'm going to tell you there's certain documents I require, but the most important thing, apart from all the paperwork that needs to be signed, the role of the transferring attorney is key communication with the seller and the purchaser. But telling the seller and the agent, they work together. We use our various ways of communicating with the agents. I don't always have my laptop with me, but we talk on WhatsApp. It's so easy. So just the role of the transferring attorney is effectively assisting the seller, the buyer, the agent to get the property transferred as quick as possible within that 6 to 8 week period, and have it registered in the new owner's name.
And I think it's important what Schlak said, you know, the communication between all the parties, buyer, seller, estate agent, and the transferring attorney, bond attorney, because everyone wants to be kept up to date and everything. It's like an orchestra. The transferring attorney has to manage.
It's a dance.
It's a dance. And if everyone is on point, then you go and hand in and the property is transferred. There's also the person you trust with implementing the offer to purchase you signed, because remember, they have to follow that word for word and make sure the right people get paid out at the right times and that they protect you and your interests through the whole process. So the transferring attorney has a very important role. And the process takes normally 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah.
So from where the offer to purchase is signed to where the property is transferred to the new.
Yeah. Remember, 6 to 8 weeks is, we're talking about normal sale. We are not talking about the deceased sale. So that does sometimes take a bit longer because we need to get the endorsement from the Master of the High Court. So the power of attorney needs to be sent to the deeds office, and we can only proceed once we have that endorsement on the power of attorney. So that might take a bit longer. In the Free State, Bloemfontein is quite good. The master is quite effective in that and giving us the endorsements to proceed. But some places it takes a bit longer. If you go to Gauteng, cross the river.
Something else where we also guide, I mean, part of your work is education in the process. Ours as sellers is also education, is when we meet up with the seller, is to say, you're going to be bombarded with paperwork now. But get your municipal rates account, see if you're up to date. Check your water meter, is it running? If you've got a bond, contact your bank. Tell them I'm going to sell my property. They must know you've got a 20-year contract with them, and if you exit it, that they know that there's no penalties. get your attorney.
Penalties is sometimes, it is what it is. I mean, sometimes you have to sell this property so quickly that you unfortunately have to pay that little bit of penalties, but it's not breaking the bank.
It's not breaking the bank.
Yeah.
And then also what we educate our sellers on is know where you're going to. Because a lot of time they sell and the property registers and we need to give occupation to the new owner and they haven't planned properly. So that's part of the stuff we do as our educational when we onboard a property. We call it do a listing. So yeah, there's a lot of paperwork and we prepare them for you guys and the bond guys. Yeah.
And that's what's nice working with the right people, because you know the education starts from day one, understanding what is required from you as seller and from the buyer, and then the process and clear communication between all the parties just makes the process so much more enjoyable for everyone. Something that we touched on now is the cost, you know, and how to prep when planning to sell your property. The offer to purchase is the most important document, and lots of people sign that there isn't something like a generic offer to purchase, and that is the guidelines the transfer attorney will follow in regards to deposit, occupation of the property, what type of
suspensive conditions.
So all those things, how important is that, and have you experienced that people don't read it, or do you guide them through it? How does it work on the estate agent side as well as on the attorney side?
I should start because my paperwork becomes your paperwork. Reading is a skill, and not everybody is interested in the paperwork. So my agents are trained to explain and understand the contract, not to be a legal advisor or contract specialist, but to explain the contract and to explain each section, what's the importance of it and what's the need for it to be completed. Something simple as it's got a gas stove. People think the gas bottles they can take home. I bought them from Acura, I can take them. You don't sell a car without tires, the gas bottles must stay. And you have those things in a contract and explain it to, because that becomes a suspensive condition. And if the contracting up front is correct, understood by the parties, it makes the rest of the process easier. Because something as simple as fix a swimming pool pump can, for effective reasons, hold up a transfer, because you can't submit if the swimming pool pump's not fixed. So if it's seen to be fixed, the agent's responsibility is to follow up. Are you fixing it? Have you got quotes? Assist them. So the closer, that's six to 8 weeks that it's there. We don't want a week before and say, oh, but the swimming pool pump. So that's my contract, and the importance of it is my contract. Every estate agent contracts it differently, but I wanted a solid to protect both parties. I work for the seller and for the buyer, and to pass that on to you to draft a deed of sale.
Yeah, so it's so important. I think whenever somebody asks me offer to purchase, what's the most important thing? The first thing that just pops up in my mind, I'm like, suspensive conditions, and it's like ding, 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 ding. You need to make sure, you can't say it's suspensive on a bond being granted. There's one thing, and I want to emphasize, like, there need to be a certain period. I can't just say, Schlak, you can buy the property if you get a bond. When? How long? How long? Schlak, this offer to purchase is then there for whenever.
Even the percentage of bond, you have to get 100% bond. Now the guy gets a 95% bond. Sorry.
So the offer to purchase is the most important document. It outlines for us how the transaction will go, what we need, where we need to follow up, and so forth. So really, really the most important thing.
And something that a lot of people doing offers, I think that's my experience from being in the industry, is we generally put a cash flow to it. We sell it for R1 million. The fee is going to be 50,000 Rand. The seller is going to get X amount in his pocket. Sometimes there's other costs involved, and the seller is not clear, so that the seller knows I'm selling this. It's advertising property 24 for X, but I'm actually only going to get this. That he knows that.
If we just look at the cost, what can a seller expect to pay down the line? Remember, because you have to work it into his initial price for his property so that he doesn't get less out than what he actually wanted in his pocket. Could you guys mention a few of the key costs that the guys should?
The cost for the seller in a transaction.
Property, yes.
So obviously, if you put your property in the market, you need to remember that they're not working for free.
No.
They want the commission. So as the seller, you will be paying the commission. You need to ensure there's certificate of compliance, and for your electric fence, if you have gas, like you said. Some people, I just had a transaction and the lady said, no, my gas pipe is it's 3 meters long, and I'm like, no, but you need a COC for that. You can't just, so that's stuff people need to remember. And if you have solar, remember you'll have to have a separate COC for the solar. That's all costs that paid. And such an important thing the sellers forget when I tell them, listen, the transaction will proceed. We will proceed to apply for rates. And they're like, what's that? And I'm like, we apply to the municipality. Like you said, you need to make sure that your account is up to date. But we apply to get a RCC, and that's a rates clearance certificate. And we need to submit that rates clearance certificate in the deeds office for the property to proceed. Now, the seller is liable. He needs to pay in advance for Metsamaholo in Sasolburg. It's 6 months. And in Fuleni,
3 months, yeah.
in Fuleni is 3 months. So that's costs that you need to think of. And if you don't have the cash on hand to pay that right now, but your property will register and your profits will be enough, we can arrange bridging finance for that. So you don't have to panic about the cost that needs to be paid. I just had a transaction that had to be paid more than 200,000. I mean, I don't have 200,000 lying around, but the profits from the sale was enough to cover. So yeah, it's the COC, it's the commission of the estate agent, and definitely the rates. It's the most important costs for the seller.
And not the same compliance certificates will be applicable to each
Generally, electrical certificate of compliance, that's what the CST stands for.
Yeah.
If you've got a gas stove, it must be there, and you're going to get a contractor coming in, and it might be that your stove, the gas bottle is next to the stove, it's not compliant.
Yeah.
So then it needs to be fixed.
And that cost is also.
And that cost is for the seller. And electrical fences are probably one of the trickiest ones. The guy says it's not working, then take it off. So sometimes we get somebody coming to do a CSC for us by taking the box out and taking it away. It's not part of the sale. Because then the fence is around, it must be working. It's a danger. And the main thing of any certificate of compliance is to hand over a safe and compliant installation house to the buyer. And it's the seller's expense. Yeah.
So as a seller in the South African market, make sure you communicate well with your estate agent, especially on the suspensive conditions, making sure you understand what you're selling and what not. And then the same, remember there are costs involved. Even though you are the seller, there's a few different costs you have to take into consideration. So if you wanted R1 million for your property, these type of costs you also have to budget for them, so that you know what you're going to get in your pocket at the end of the day.
And another thing I want to add is you need to make sure don't just get a COC. Don't say, I know a guy, Johan, come do the COC for me. Remember, you need to still actually comply, even though all your light fixtures work. That person needs to come into your property and sort this out. I'm speaking out of personal experience. We bought a property and there was a COC for the fence, and when I got there, it wasn't compliant. And I don't have big muscles, but I almost had a big fight with the electrician. But just make sure of that.
Better to get a specialist in.
Yes.
And us as estate agents, we've got a panel that we prefer to use because we know they do proper work. My name is connected to that sale. I don't want them to say a backdoor guy did this or that. And I don't want them to, I want the everybody working to earn a fair wage. So I want them to do the repairs at a fair value for everybody. Yeah.
And that's why through the partnerships, again, the experience, if you get the right people, they'll have a panel of reputable plumbers, electricians, all the guys that you need to do the work correctly. And as Schalk said right in the beginning, a buyer today could be a person that sells one day, and you want them to be returning clients. So
my quality of work must get my advertising budget down.
Yes.
And because they do a lot of properties, they've renegotiated rates with all these guys. So you possibly, if you use your own person, you'll be paying more for that person than someone on the panel, because those guys do a lot of work.
Yeah. So like I said, not everybody's got phone my lawyer, the electrician, or you've got somebody that can fix something for you. But somebody to do it proper and certify that it's correct.
So as a seller, you don't have to worry. There are people on panels through the right channels that you are seeing the estate agent or the attorney, and they'll help you sort all these things out. Just remember, it is for your cost. And that's something you have to always keep into consideration. So if we can sum up, what would your top 3 tips be for sellers in the current property market? Let's start with Schalk. So what would your top 3 tips be for a potential seller in the current property market?
Clean your place up. I'm not saying your place is dirty, but think about it. If you walk through it, maybe walk through it with yourself and take 20 photos, go sit, look at it, and see this is what somebody else is going to see. So neaten it up. Choose partners. There's like we've discussed, Property 24, to look who's giving good work. And then I think this is one that's internalized with the seller, is to say, what's my expectation on the price? Where do I want to go? Because if you put to make sure your price is right. If you really want to move down to Cape Town within the next 6 months, don't put a house on the price on your house that's not going to make it.
Yeah.
Be honest with yourself and look at property 24. What does houses sell for in this area? And if yours is 200 over, which can be 15% over, it's not going to sell, generally.
So, clean, neaten up your property. That can be a touch of paint. And do it, if you do it properly.
Good properly,
So that,
as if you do it for yourself.
as if you would do it for yourself. Then make sure you choose the right partners, the right estate agent, the right transferring attorney, the right bond originator, and even because through that you'll know everything will be looked at and you'll be communicated with throughout the process. And safeguarded because they do it a lot and they've got trust and reputation in the market. And then manage your own expectation as seller. Look at property 24, make sure your price, what you expect of a 3-bedroom home in a specific area without a swimming pool, without a study, without this, is in line with the last 5 properties that sold in the same street or in the same area. And if you can't go onto property 24 and see that, the estate agent can help you and draw a report and say, these are things in your area, this is where your expectations should be between these 2 prices.
A report is 5 minutes away, if any client wants it from us,
And then also with the estate agent, they can tell you this would add value to your property if you do this or this and this. And that might, if you're not planning to sell today, but in a year's time, that could give you a bit of a guideline to know what to invest in, rather build a spare office or do certain things that will give you the maximum value out of your property for when you're planning to do it.
If your gate motor doesn't work and the client stops there and you have to go unwind and push it open, you've lost them. And that's meaning needs effective working. Now, it doesn't have to be a new motor, make sure it's working. The battery's charged or changed.
Market timing is very important. I mean, in this market, we said just now, it is a buyer's market. There's a lot of properties in the market available. The interest rates are low. Is it the right time to sell a property now or not?
If you're retiring, you're not going to wait for the market to turn. You want to go retire by the post. It's the normal Farley thing,
So your time in life and where you are in your lifespan. So if you're a first time buyer, maybe you should buy now because it's a good time to buy. Instead of waiting 2 or 3 years.
Moving to the buyer side now, if you want to upgrade now, this could probably be a good time to upgrade because you will get a little bit more. If you bought 5 years back, you hopefully had some increases. You can afford more. Don't overextend yourself. Never go full max. That's my advice. And then you can, because there will be guys wanting to move out. So it's a good time to sell now. But don't want to sell a house in a not so good area, and for the same for the price you want to pay in a good area. It's not going to happen. Manage your expectations.
Okay, so that's interesting. Cecilia, what would your top 3 tips be for sellers in the current market?
Just like I said, I really want to tie in with Schlak, but it's also managing expectations. Make sure your financial situation allows it. And the last thing really is to educate yourself. Like we said, the costs that the seller has to carry. There is some stuff that you need to make sure of, like the COCs and so forth. And remember that if there is bond cancellation costs as well, that's also cost that you need to carry. So make sure the financial part of it is really important.
And read your offer to purchase.
So
that's important. At the end of the session, I'm going to ask a few quick fire questions. It's 1-word answers. So I'm going to ask a question, you give an answer, and Cecilia gives an answer, and then we can move on to the rest. It's just some fun. What is your prediction for 2026? Higher or lower fuel prices?
Unfortunately.
Higher, I need to get a bicycle.
Increase or decrease in property sales 2026?
Increase, definitely.
Increase.
Should you buy, hold, or sell a property in the current market?
Depending. I would hold because I think the buyers would put pressure on me if I don't have to sell.
If you need to sell, otherwise hold on to it.
Okay. What is better to invest in, sectional title, full title, residential?
Depending on where you are in the stage of
One answer. If you had to choose.
Full title.
Sectional title.
What is better, commercial, agricultural, residential property for investment?
Residential.
Residential.
Top mistake you see sellers make when selling a property?
Price too high.
Unrealistic expectations.
Yeah. Best way to buy a property, cash or finance?
Finance.
Cash.
The most important aspect of a house that makes it stand out compared to other similar houses, if you had to name one.
General feel. Yeah, general feel.
Oh, I'd say like your kitchen. Yeah.
Typical lady answer. But yeah.
I love baking. I'm not just an attorney.
So those are the quick fire questions. Follow the guidelines we've spoken through today during the podcast so that you are well informed, educated. The education starts from the day you contact the estate agent, even before the time to do your own research, so that you can understand the process and also manage your expectations in terms of how long it will take to sell your property, how long it will take to transfer your property, and at least you have peace of mind. If you're choosing the right people to deal with, you'll always have that helping hand to help you with all the different areas and guide you through this process, which enables you to again go and look for your next home. This is a wrap up for the episode. Remember to like, share and follow our YouTube channel. As we have here, I Put It To You podcast, and tune in next week where we'll be talking about a different topic that has an impact on your life and that you would like the answer to. So until next time, I thank Schlak and Cecilia for today's podcast.
Thank you, Ramona. Thank you, Schlak.
We put it to you.